We're talking drum sanders today, and you don't want to miss out on this. Hey, welcome back to the shop, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about drum sanders, and there's a reason why. Some friends of mine, Jackie and Liz over at Knots and Grains Woodworking, check them out on Facebook. They're doing some really cool stuff. They just got themselves a drum sander, and I've had mine for a couple of years now. It's a Jet 1632. I bought it used. I was fortunate. I got a really good deal on it, and I use it nearly every day that I'm in the shop. So it's a handy tool. I wanted to give you a few tips and tricks on how to get the best use out of your drum sander. And if you don't own one, I'm probably going to plant a seed that you probably do really need to save some pennies and get yourself one. To me, it's been a game changer. Here's why. So over in the corner, collecting dust, it's been sitting there for about a year and a half, is my planer. I barely ever use my planer anymore. With the work that I do in my shop, either I can use the planer or I can use the drum sander. So for cutting boards, for instance, I've got one right here, as a matter of fact. I'll go ahead and glue this up and then run it through the drum sander and flatten it. And I'll show you a trick on how to make sure that they're perfectly flat. But they're such a handy tool. So let's talk about this particular drum sander and some of the options that you have out there. So I mentioned this is a 1632. What that means is, you can see my hand, this is an open drum sander. And theoretically, it will sand up to 16 inches wide. There's a misnomer to that, and I'll tell you that in a second. But the 32 comes into play because you can pretend that this is a 32-inch wide board, you run it through and you're only getting half the board, right? So you can flip it and run the other side that didn't get sanded, so that just increase your capacity to 32 inches. Reality, they should have called it a 15 and a half by 31. It's a little short of 16. So if you do get a drum sander, know what your limitations are. That way you don't commit to a project, for instance, where somebody says, yeah, I want a 36 by 48 flag made, and you're going to have to flatten it. Well, you're not going to do it with your drum sander if you're exceeding the limits. So keep that in mind. The other cool thing is these open up very easily. There's a little button up front, and I'll actually bring you around in just a second. And you can access the drum itself. Now, you use a magic eraser, and I'll have a link in the show notes for this. It's like $10, something like that. But you'll get buildup on your sandpaper, and you just simply run this across the surface as it's spinning, and it'll take away all that buildup and increase the longevity of your sandpaper. Let me bring you around right now. Well, this is what the inside looks like. This is the paper. It's on the drum. One of the things you want to look for in a drum sander is ease of maintenance. This is a very easy drum sander to take care of. I don't have to lubricate any bearings. These are all sealed bearings. The motor bearings are all sealed. So it makes it super easy. Now, let me show you this. I've had this sandpaper on for about a month and a half, and this is just after Christmas. I had well over 180 sales for Christmas, so this got used pretty heavily with cutting boards and such. But I'm going to show you how to just clean up this sanding disc. You just run it right across the surface. Just like that. Now, if you're using resin like I do, it cakes up much quicker than wood. So I might have 4 passes, say, of a cross through this, and then I'm going to need to pull this block out and clean it up and then keep going after it. So with wood, gosh, you can go quite a ways. Some of the things that can happen, which is kind of a bummer, I use ancient redwood quite a bit, and it's a lovely wood, but it has a little bit of resin in it, and some pieces have more so. And it will start to cake up in this hard burned line, and it's a little harder to get that off. So with woods that have resin in them, you want to take shallow passes, not get overly aggressive, so you're overheating the wood and creating that resin to rise to the surface, caking your drum sander. So how do you use this thing? Well, I've got a cutting board. You can see it's kind of grody. It's had gone through a glue up, and it's ready to get flattened and sanded. So what I did is I put this on a perfectly flat surface, and I determined what is the flattest side. In this case, the bottom is perfectly flat. The top is kind of wild. So we're going to go ahead and start where the bottom is perfectly flat, and we're going to clean this up before we flip it over and clean up the other side. So this is how we get it done. I'm connected to a ShopFox dust collection system. It works out really good, and it's super inexpensive. I'll leave that in the show notes if you're interested. My friend Skylar Ewing from Sawdust and Splinters got one very similar to it, and she's absolutely doing backflips over it. She loves it. So let me turn on the vac, and I'll show you how to run this. I've got my drum already turned on, and I'm going to set my speed to 50. I've already checked to make sure that I'm not too close to the wood. You can hear it's now making a little contact. Normally I'd be working on the other side of the drum sander. Okay, so I'm going to make a number of passes. You can see where the sander was in contact with the wood in the center, but not on the sides yet. So I'm just going to adjust this maybe a quarter turn and run it through again. So you get the idea of what to do with a cutting board. I'm going to demonstrate a larger piece so you can see how I operate the drum sander with that. Okay, so this cross is 18 inches wide, and again, my sanding surface area is about 15 and a half inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this through one way, and then I'm going to flip it and run it through the other way, just like this. Well, the drum sander did a really good job on this. It only took a couple of passes to clean it up, make it look beautiful. And I'm using 120 grit in my drum sander. Some shops run 80 grit. It really depends on the type of material that you're working with. If you had rough wood to begin with, maybe 80 would be the way to go. But it doesn't apply for my shop. The paper, it comes like this in a roll, and it's pre-cut so it has the angle that you need. Changing the paper is, you got to grit your teeth a little bit, maybe swear a little bit. It can be a bit of a pain. It's hard to get, for me, it's hard to get in to these little tabs that you're not going to be able to see. I can't get my camera in there. But in the comments, if you want to see how this gets done, I'd be happy to show you. The only other wear item is the belt. And the belt is it's kind of like sandpaper. It grips the wood, and that's the key to success. I had bought this, and it was, I think, 5 or 6 years old, and it sat for a couple of years. And the belt itself was kind of rotted, kind of cracked, and I did have to replace the belt. Again, probably a little swearing involved, but I got it done. All right, so I'm going to show you one more trick before we sign off today, and this is a good one. Okay, this is worth the price of admission. I have a perfectly flat piece of wood here, and that's how I test my cutting boards. I don't sell any cutting board that isn't perfectly flat, and I hope you don't either. And it's easy to fix if you have one that's a little cupped or bowed, whatever. So check this out. So I'm going to go ahead and check this, and I can see you may I don't think you can hear it, but it's rocking just a little bit. This corner is up just a hair. So here's the fix. I've got a piece of sandpaper I use. With wood turning, you can use any sandpaper, but use it as a shim. You're going to slide it up underneath and then check it out. Okay, so that's going to be my winner. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this just so I don't bonehead between here and the drum sander. I'm going to take this to the drum sander and I'm going to feed it in with that sandpaper as the shim, and I'm going to do it right now for you. Okay, so I've got my arrow, I've got my sandpaper. Let's run this through. Now, what I'm going to do is make sure I catch the sandpaper as it's ready to fall off. And I'll keep making passes until I get this perfectly flat. So I'll go back to my flat wood and test it. Okay, I'm going to give you one more advantage to using a drum sander on projects like this. With a planer, you are you're going to get snipe, and what that is that when the board is going through the planer, it grabs the wood, and you get this little divot, if you will, in the wood, and it's a couple inches in on on the entry side and on the exit side. Um, you can do a little bit of fine tuning, but it's pretty common, and that's a real problem if you have a cutting board that's got two indentations. You're not going to be able to sell a board like that, right? So what a lot of people do is they'll cut a cutting board long and then cut that area what has the snipe. They cut it off. Well, a couple inches here, a couple inches there. When I made 164 cutting boards the other year for Christmas, well, that adds up to a lot of wood, and I don't want to waste the wood. So that's another reason why I use a drum sander versus the planer. Now, in my Etsy store, you're going to see that I do a lot of resin crosses, and it's wood and resin, so they're a hybrid piece, and they're delicate. I've run them through the planer before, and I've had them explode and just literally come apart. Where on the drum sander, I've never had a disaster. So there you go. That's another good thing to keep in the back of your mind. What works in your shop? It's a good question. Well, I think that's a wrap. That was fun to show all you that, and I hope it was beneficial to you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Just drop me a comment, and I'll let you know there. And if you want to see a video on changing the sandpaper, let me know. I can do that. You can hear me swear a little bit, maybe. And anyway, if you aren't following my page right now, go ahead and hit subscribe, hit the bell. You get all my notifications. Going to have plenty of content coming up, and I think it'll be all very helpful to the newer woodworker. And I don't do shtick. Sorry, guys. I'm not going to juggle power tools, but I will give you some handy tips along the way, just like today. All right. We'll see you next time.